Hana stepped off the transport ship carrying a small travel bag and a metal carrier that hummed softly. The Galactic Academy station stretched out before her like a crystal city, floating in space. Massive windows showed the gas giant Thyros Prime spinning slowly below, its purple and gold clouds swirling in endless storms. She had dreamed of this moment for years, but now that she was here, her stomach felt tight with worry. The other students walking through the docking bay were nothing like her. Some had blue skin and extra arms. Others looked like walking trees with glowing leaves. A few had scales that changed colors as they moved. Hana felt very small and very human among them all. She found her room and met her roommate Kim Ray, who looked like she was made of living crystal. Kim Ray was kind but seemed confused when Hana mentioned she was from Earth. Earth? Kim Ray asked, her crystal face tilting. I have never heard of this world. Is it in the outer rim? It is in the Sol system, Hana said quietly. Some people call it a death world. Kim Ray's crystal body flashed with surprise. You are from a death world? But you look so soft. Before Hana could answer, a loud chirping came from her carrier. She opened the small door and a furry creature about the size of a house cat climbed out. It had black and white stripes, small dark eyes, and looked very sleepy. This is Yun Tai, Hana said, gently petting the creature. He is my emotional support animal. Kim Ray stared at the small, peaceful animal. This is from a death world? Yun Tai yawned, showing small white teeth, then curled up on Hana's bed and went to sleep. The next morning, Hana walked into her first xenobiology class. The classroom was huge, with seats that could fit many different body types. Professor Veltar stood at the front. He was tall and thin with 4 arms and skin that looked like tree bark. Today we have a new student, Professor Veltar announced. Please introduce yourself and tell us about your homeworld. Hana stood up slowly. All the other students turned to look at her. She could feel her face getting hot. My name is Hana, she said in a quiet voice. I am from Earth in the Sol system. Earth? Called out a student from the back. This was Crix, who looked like a giant insect with sharp claws and compound eyes. Never heard of it. Professor Veltar touched his control pad. A hologram appeared showing Earth as a small blue and green ball. Earth, the professor read from his screen. Diameter 12,742 kilometers. Gravity 9.8 meters per second squared. 1 natural satellite. Standard oxygen nitrogen atmosphere. Classification Class M, Death World. The classroom erupted in laughter. That tiny thing? Crix's voice buzzed with amusement. My homeworld's smallest moon is bigger than that. How can anything live on such a small planet? Asked another student who looked like a walking flower. The gravity must be so weak, laughed a student with tentacles instead of arms. You probably cannot even walk properly on normal worlds. Hana felt her face burning with shame. She wanted to explain that Earth was not weak, but the laughter was so loud she could not speak. Professor Veltar raised one of his 4 hands for quiet. Now, size is not everything in the universe, but I must admit, it is unusual for such a small world to produce spacefaring life. What kind of creatures live on your tiny world? Crix asked, his compound eyes glittering with mean joy. Hana hesitated. Many different kinds. We have biodiversity. This made the class laugh even harder. Biodiversity on a planet that small? The flower student giggled. What do you have, 10 different species? I brought one of our animals with me, Hana said quietly. You brought a creature from a death world? Professor Veltar asked, suddenly interested. That is quite unusual. The Academy normally does not allow this. It is for emotional support, Hana explained. The Academy approved it because it is small and harmless. Show us, Crix demanded. Show us this fearsome death world predator. Other students joined in, chanting for her to bring out her animal. Hana looked around the room at all the eager, mocking faces. She did not want to, but she could see no way out. She walked to the back of the room where she had left Yuntai's carrier. The small animal was sleeping inside, completely unaware of all the attention. Hana gently picked him up and carried him to the front of the class. The room fell silent for a moment, then exploded with laughter louder than before. That? Crix could barely speak through his buzzing laughter. That is your apex predator? Yuntai looked around the room with sleepy eyes, yawned again and tried to go back to sleep in Hana's arms. It looks like a stuffed toy, the flower student shrieked. Are you sure it is even alive? asked the tentacle student. What does it hunt? Crix asked mockingly. Dust particles? Even Professor Veltar seemed amused. Well, this certainly explains Earth's limited biodiversity. If this is representative of your planet's fauna, it is no wonder your world remains largely unknown. Hana held Yuntai closer to her chest. The small animal made a soft, content sound and snuggled against her. What is it called? The professor asked, making notes on his pad. This is Yuntai, Hana said. He is a honey badger. Honey badger? Crix repeated. It hunts honey? How terrifying. The laughter continued for what felt like hours. Students made jokes about Earth's dangerous honey-hunting monsters. They wondered aloud how humans had ever survived with such pathetic protectors. Through it all, Yuntai slept peacefully in Hana's arms, occasionally opening one eye to look around before going back to sleep. His calm behavior only made the other students laugh harder. Look, the tentacle student pointed. The mighty Earth beast is so bored by our death worlds that it falls asleep. When class finally ended, Hana gathered her things quickly and hurried out. She could hear students still laughing behind her, making jokes about the tiny human from the tiny planet and her sleepy pet. In the hallway, Kim Ray caught up with her. I am sorry about that, Kim Ray said. They were not being kind. Hana nodded but did not trust herself to speak. Yuntai stirred in her arms and looked up at her with his dark eyes. She gently scratched behind his small ears and he made a happy sound. Do not listen to them, Kim Ray continued. Size is not everything. My people believe that the smallest crystals often hold the greatest power. Hana smiled weakly at her roommate's kindness, but she could still hear laughter echoing from the classroom behind them. She had come to the academy to learn and make friends, but instead she felt more alone than ever. As they walked back to their room, Yuntai fell asleep again in her arms, completely unaware that he had just become the joke of the entire academy. News about the human girl and her tiny pet spread through the academy like wildfire. By the next morning, everyone knew about Hana from the tiny planet and her sleepy honey badger. Students would point and whisper when she walked through the halls. In the cafeteria, Hana sat alone at a corner table. She had brought a small bed for Yuntai, and he slept peacefully beside her chair while she ate her lunch. The food was strange but edible, some kind of purple grain with green sauce. A shadow fell across her table. She looked up to see 3 massive students standing over her. They were Ursinians, bear-like creatures from a high-gravity world. Each one was nearly 3 meters tall with thick fur and claws that could crush metal. So you are the human, said the largest one, whose name was Grok. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. We wanted to see the creature from the famous death world. Famous? Hana asked quietly. Famous for being weak, laughed another Ursinian named Thok. Our professor told us about your planet. So small and pathetic. Grok pulled up a chair that groaned under his weight. Let me tell you about a real death world, little human. Ursinia has gravity 3 times stronger than your tiny world. Our predators are 30 meters tall. We have storms that last for decades. The smallest rocks that fall from our sky would crush your bones to powder. Other students began gathering around the table, drawn by the loud Ursinian voices. Hana felt trapped as more and more faces stared down at her. Show them the size comparison, called out someone from the crowd. Thok pulled out a holographic projector and activated it. Images of different planets appeared floating above the table. First came Ursinia, a massive brown and gray world with swirling storm systems that covered entire continents. Ursinia, Thok announced proudly. Diameter, 45,000 kilometers. Gravity, 29.4 meters per second squared. Home to the strongest beings in the galaxy. More planets appeared in the hologram. Thermal 7, a world of lava rivers and crystal storms. The Void Edge, where radiation levels could melt starship hulls. Glacier Prime, where the ice storms could freeze atmospheric gases solid. And then, Grok said with a huge grin, we have Earth. The tiny blue-green marble appeared in the hologram, looking impossibly small next to the other worlds. Students gasped and laughed. You could fit 16 Earths inside Ursinia's smallest continent, Thok declared. How can you call that a death world? Maybe it is dangerous because you might lose it, joked a student who looked like a walking crystal formation. It is so small it could fall between the couch cushions. The crowd roared with laughter. Hana felt her cheeks burning with shame. She looked down at Yuntai, who had opened one lazy eye to see what all the noise was about. He yawned, showing his small white teeth, then went back to sleep. Look at the fearsome Earth predator. Grok pointed at the sleeping honey badger. It is so terrified of our death worlds that it cannot stay awake. What does it eat? Asked a snake-like student with scales that changed color. Flower petals. Sweet nectar. The name suggests it hunts honey, said another student. Imagine being afraid of a creature that attacks beehives for food. Crix appeared through the crowd, his insect eyes gleaming with malicious joy. Fellow students, I have prepared a special presentation for lunch period today. A scientific comparison of real death worlds versus Earth. The crowd cheered and began moving toward the main assembly hall. Students from dozens of different species came to watch Crix's presentation. Hana wanted to leave, but Kim Ray appeared beside her. You should come, Kim Ray said gently. If you hide, they will only make fun of you more. So Hana picked up Yoon Tae's bed and followed the crowd. The assembly hall was huge, with hundreds of seats arranged in circles around a central holographic projector. Crix stood at the center, clearly enjoying all the attention. Welcome to the Galactic Academy's first educational seminar on planetary classification, Crix announced. Today we will learn the difference between real death worlds and other planets. The hologram activated, showing a detailed star map. Let us begin with Mandible Prime, my homeworld. A dark planet appeared, covered in massive hive structures and swarming with insect-like creatures. Gravity, 15 meters per second squared. Atmosphere, 78% nitrogen, 19% oxygen, 3% combat pheromones. Native fauna includes the great mantis, which grows to 50 meters in length. Students applauded as images of giant predatory insects filled the hologram. Next, Persinia, home to our friends Grok and Thok. The massive brown world appeared again. As we learned, this planet could contain 16 Earths. Its gravity would crush most species instantly. The native Ursinians evolved from predators that hunted creatures the size of starships. More applause. Grok and Thok stood up and roared, showing off their impressive claws and fangs. Planet after planet appeared in the hologram. Each one was larger, more dangerous, and more impressive than the last. Students cheered for their homeworlds and shared stories of surviving impossible conditions. And finally, Crix said, his voice dripping with fake drama, we have the mysterious death world known as Earth. The tiny blue marble appeared in the center of the hologram, looking like a lost marble among bowling balls. Diameter, 12,142 kilometers. Crix read in a bored voice. Gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared. One small moon. Standard atmosphere. And its most fearsome predator. The hologram zoomed in to show Yoon Tae sleeping in his bed beside Hana's chair. The mighty honey badger, Crix announced. Scientific name Mellivora capensis. Length approximately 60 centimeters. Weight approximately 12 kilograms. Primary diet, honey and other sweet substances. Threat level, capable of causing minor scratches if provoked. The hall erupted in laughter so loud that the walls seemed to shake. Students pointed at Hana and Yoon Tae, some falling out of their chairs with amusement. How did such a weak planet even develop space travel? Called out a student. Maybe they got lucky and found some ancient technology, suggested another. Or maybe other species felt sorry for them and gave them the technology, added a third. Through all the laughter and mockery, Yoon Tae continued sleeping peacefully. Occasionally he would twitch an ear or shift position, but the noise did not seem to bother him at all. This only made the students laugh harder. The Earth creature is so weak that it cannot even be bothered by our mighty death worlds, Crix declared. It finds us boring. The presentation continued for nearly an hour. Crix showed comparison charts of planetary sizes, gravity levels, and native fauna. Earth ranked last in every category except one, most likely to be accidentally stepped on. When it finally ended, students approached Hana's table. To get a closer look at Yoon Tae, they made jokes about taking pictures with the, legendary Earth monster and asked if it was safe to be in the same room. Does it have any natural predators? Asked the crystal student. Probably everything, Hana said quietly. Even the plants? The snake-like student asked. Some of them, Hana admitted. This caused another wave of laughter. A predator that is hunted by plants. How wonderfully pathetic. That night, Hana sat in her room with her communication device talking to her parents back on Earth. Tears ran down her cheeks as she told them about the day. They think we are weak, she whispered. They think Earth is nothing special. Her mother's face appeared on the screen, kind and understanding.
What do you think, Hana?
Is Earth weak? Hana looked at Yoon Tai, who was curled up beside her on the bed. He looked so small and harmless, just like everyone said, but there was something in his dark eyes when he looked at her, something that the other students could not see. I do not know anymore, Hana said. Maybe they are right. As she ended the call, Yoon Tai stretched and yawned. He looked up at her with those intelligent dark eyes and made a soft, comforting sound. Then he curled up against her side and went back to sleep, completely unaware that he had become the galaxy's biggest joke. 3 weeks had passed since Hana's arrival at the academy. The mockery had not stopped, but she had learned to ignore most of it. Students still pointed and laughed when she walked by with Yoon Tai, but she focused on her studies and tried to make the best of her situation. It was a normal Tuesday morning. Hana sat in her advanced physics class, taking notes while Professor Zeta explained quantum field theory. Yoon Tai slept in his carrier beside her desk, as peaceful as always. The other students had grown bored of making jokes about him and mostly ignored them both now. Suddenly, loud alarms began blaring throughout the academy. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and an automated voice announced, "Alert! Alert! All students report to designated safe zones immediately." This is not a drill. Professor Zeta's face went pale. His tentacles shook as he checked his communication device. "Class dismissed," he said in a shaky voice. "Follow emergency procedures." Stay calm, but calm was impossible. Students poured into the hallways, their voices rising in panic. Some cried. Others shouted questions that no one could answer. Hana picked up Yoon Tae's carrier and followed the crowd toward the nearest safe zone. Through the massive observation windows that lined the corridors, Hana could see space around the academy. At first, everything looked normal. Thyros Prime spun slowly below them, its purple and gold clouds swirling peacefully. Stars dotted the black sky like distant diamonds. Then she saw them. Sleek black ships appeared out of nowhere, as if they had materialized from empty space. They were long and sharp, like knives cutting through the darkness. Their hulls absorbed light instead of reflecting it, making them look like holes in space itself. "Cloaking technology," whispered Kim Ray, who had appeared beside Hana. Her crystal body was flashing with nervous energy. "Those are military ships." More and more black ships appeared, surrounding the academy like predators circling prey. Their weapon ports began to glow with ominous red light. Admiral Thex's voice boomed through the academy's speakers. Admiral Thex was the head of security, a massive dragon-like being with scales that could deflect laser fire. His voice was usually calm and controlled, but now it carried an edge of fear. "Attention all students and staff. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. All defensive systems are active. Remain in your safe zones until further notice." The safe zone Hana had been directed to was the academy's main cafeteria. Hundreds of students from dozens of species crowded together, their voices creating a chaos of different languages and sounds. Some wept, others prayed to their various gods, and many simply stood in shocked silence. Through the cafeteria's windows, they could see the black ships moving into attack formation. The lead ship was larger than the others, with strange symbols carved into its hull. Then the transmission began. A holographic image appeared in the center of the cafeteria. It showed a tall, pale humanoid figure wearing black robes. His eyes were completely white, without pupils or irises, and his skin looked like it had never seen sunlight. "Citizens of the galaxy," the figure said, his voice cold and emotionless. "I am Commander Zeph of the Purity Syndicate. Today we cleanse the universe of genetic contamination." Gasps and cries filled the cafeteria. Everyone knew about the Purity Syndicate, a terrorist organization that believed only certain species deserved to exist. They had attacked colonies before, but never something as important as the Galactic Academy. "This academy represents everything that is wrong with our galaxy," Commander Zeph continued. "Pure bloodlines mixing with inferior species. Ancient wisdom polluted by primitive thoughts. Today we correct this mistake." The hologram showed technical diagrams of the academy's structure. Commander Zeph pointed to various sections with a long, pale finger. "We have developed a new weapon specifically for this purpose. Bioselective nanites that target genetic markers unique to contaminated species. The pure will survive. The impure will be cleansed." Hana felt ice forming in her stomach. She looked around at her fellow students. The kinder Sinians, the gentle crystal beings, the artistic flower people. All of them were breathing hard with fear. "The process will begin in 5 minutes," Commander Zeph announced. "We advise pureblood students to remain calm. The nanites will not harm you. For the other—" He smiled, showing teeth like white knives. "Your sacrifice will purify the galaxy." The transmission ended, leaving the cafeteria in stunned silence. "What are bioselective nanites?" whispered a young student who looked like a walking tree. Dr. Nam-Su, the Academy's head of emergency medicine, stepped forward. She was a short, elderly being with gray skin and 4 eyes. Her voice shook as she explained. "Nanites are microscopic robots," she said. "Bioselective means they are programmed to attack specific genetic patterns. If Commander Zeph is telling the truth, these nanites will seek out and destroy any student whose species the Syndicate considers impure." "Can we stop them?" asked Grok, the large Ursinian. Dr. Nam-Su shook her head sadly. "Not with our current technology. Once released, the nanites will spread through the Academy's air system. They will find their targets no matter where they hide." Panic erupted in the cafeteria. Students screamed and ran toward the exits, but the doors had been sealed by the emergency lockdown system. They were trapped. Admiral Thex's voice returned to the speakers, but now it sounded strained. "Security forces are engaging the enemy ships, but they have superior numbers and technology. We are doing everything we can." Through the windows, they could see the battle beginning. The Academy's defense ships were small and fast, but the black ships cut through them like they were made of paper. Explosions lit up the darkness, and pieces of destroyed ships tumbled toward the gas giant below. Hana found herself pressed against one of the cafeteria's windows, still holding Yuntai's carrier. The small honey badger had woken up when the alarm started, but he did not seem frightened. He sat quietly in his carrier, looking out at the space battle with calm, dark eyes. "Nanite deployment in 30 seconds, announced Commander Zeph's voice. Students near the air vents began backing away in terror. Everyone knew that once those nanites entered the Academy's atmosphere, there would be no escape for anyone the Syndicate considered impure. "I do not want to die," whispered Kim Ray, her crystal body dim with fear. Hana put her free arm around her roommate. Through Yuntai's carrier, she could feel the honey badger's steady breathing. He was completely calm, as if he knew something the rest of them did not. "Nanite deployment beginning now," Commander Zeph announced. Dark clouds began pouring from the black ships. They moved like living smoke, flowing toward the Academy's air intake systems. The nanites looked like a swarm of angry insects, seeking their way inside to find their victims. "They are coming through the vents," someone screamed. Hana looked up and saw thin streams of dark nanites beginning to seep through the air conditioning systems. The streams moved with purpose, spreading out to cover as much area as possible. In his carrier, Yuntai stood up for the first time since the crisis began. His dark eyes focused on the approaching nanites with sudden intensity, and for the first time since arriving at the Academy, the small honey badger looked completely awake. The nanites poured into the cafeteria like liquid death. They moved in coordinated streams, spreading across the ceiling and walls with frightening intelligence. Students pressed against the far walls as far from the vents as possible, but everyone knew it would not matter. The nanites would find them. Hana watched in horror as the dark swarm began descending toward the terrified students. Some nanites had already reached the floor and were moving toward their first targets, a group of flower people who were huddled together in prayer. That was when Yuntai changed. The transformation was so sudden and complete that Hana almost dropped his carrier. The sleepy, peaceful animal she had known for months simply vanished. In his place stood a creature that looked like it had been carved from pure determination. His fur bristled, making him appear twice his normal size. His lazy posture disappeared, replaced by the coiled tension of a spring ready to release. His dark eyes, which had always seemed gentle and tired, now burned with an intelligence so fierce it was almost frightening. For the first time since arriving at the Academy, Yuntai looked fully awake. More than awake, he looked like he had been waiting his entire life for this moment. "What is happening to your pet?" Kim Ray whispered. Hana stared at the honey badger in amazement. This was not the same animal that had slept through lectures and yawned at DEATHWORLD presentations. This creature looked like it could take on the entire universe and win. "He is not sleeping anymore," Hana said quietly. Yuntai made a sound unlike anything he had ever made before. It was not the soft, gentle noises Hana was used to. This was a growl that seemed to come from somewhere deep in the earth itself, low, threatening, and absolutely fearless. The nanites closest to him stopped moving. "Did you see that?" Dr. Namsu called out, her 4 eyes focused on the honey badger. The nanites stopped. It was true. The stream of nanites that had been flowing toward Yuntei's location had frozen in place, as if they were confused or uncertain. Yuntei stepped out of his carrier with movements so smooth and purposeful that he seemed to flow like water. Every step was placed with perfect precision. His head moved from side to side, tracking the nanite swarms with the focus of a hunter. "That is not the same animal," Crick said, his compound eyes wide with shock. "What happened to the sleepy creature?" Hana felt understanding dawn on her like sunrise. He was not sleeping, she realized. He was waiting. Waiting for what? Asked Grok. Hana looked at the honey badger, who was now stalking toward the nearest group of nanites with deadly purpose. For something to fight. What happened next defied everything the alien students thought they knew about Earth creatures. Yuntei did not run from the nanites. He attacked them. The small honey badger launched himself at the swarm with explosive speed. His claws, which had looked so harmless when he was sleeping, tore through the nanites like they were made of paper. Each swipe destroyed dozens of the microscopic robots. But it was not just his physical attack that shocked the students. The nanites that touched Yuntei's fur simply stopped working. His body seemed to absorb their poison and neutralize it instantly. "How is this possible?" Dr. Namsu breathed. "Those nanites were designed to kill any biological organism they touched." Hana watched in amazement as Yuntei moved through the swarm like a tiny tornado of destruction. The nanites tried to surround him, but he was too fast, too aggressive, and too angry. Every time they thought they had him trapped, he would tear through their formation and emerge on the other side, completely unharmed. "His metabolism," Hana said suddenly. "Honey badgers evolved on Earth. They eat things that would kill other animals." "What kind of things?" Kim Ray asked. "Poisonous snakes, venomous insects, toxic plants. Their bodies can process almost any poison and turn it into energy." Hana felt pride swelling in her chest as she watched Yuntei systematically destroying the nanites. "The Syndicate's weapon is just another toxin to him." The other students stared in disbelief as the small Earth creature continued his assault. Yuntei was not just surviving the nanite attack, he was winning. His claws, evolved to dig through the hardest African soil and tear apart underground beehives, shredded the nanite's molecular structure. His teeth, designed to crunch through bone and chitin, crushed the microscopic robots like they were made of glass. But most impressive of all was his attitude. Honey badgers had evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill them, and they had survived by developing one simple philosophy: never give up, never back down, and never show fear. The nanites swarmed him from all directions, but Yuntei fought with the relentless fury of a creature that had never learned the word surrender. When they attacked from above, he leaped up to meet them. When they tried to surround him, he spun in circles, his claws creating a whirlwind of destruction. "This is incredible," Admiral Thex's voice came through the speakers. "Sensors show the nanite concentration in the cafeteria is dropping rapidly. Something is destroying them faster than they can reproduce." The students in the cafeteria pressed closer to watch the battle. The small honey badger was now covered in the remains of destroyed nanites, but he showed no signs of slowing down. If anything, he seemed to be getting stronger and more aggressive. "He is actually enjoying this," Grok said in amazement. It was true. Yuntei's entire body language had changed from the sleepy pet they knew to a warrior in his element. His tail was raised high, his movements were confident and aggressive, and he made small growling sounds of satisfaction every time he destroyed another group of nanites. "How long can he keep this up?" asked the snake-like student. "Honey badgers do not know how to quit," Hana said with growing confidence. "On Earth, they fight lions and leopards. They attack beehives protected by thousands of angry bees. They eat cobras for breakfast. Size does not matter to them, only whether something is in their way." As if to prove her point, Yuntei began tracking down individual nanites that had tried to hide in corners and cracks. His Earth-evolved senses could detect electromagnetic signatures and chemical traces that the aliens could not even imagine. He followed the nanites wherever they tried to go, methodically hunting down every last one. "He is not just destroying them randomly," Dr. Namsu observed. "He is systematically clearing the entire area. That level of tactical thinking is extraordinary. Within minutes, the cafeteria was completely clear of nanites, but Yuntai was not finished. Following scent trails and energy signatures, he began moving toward the air vents, where more nanites were entering the academy. The students watched in amazement as the small honey badger climbed into the ventilation system and began hunting nanites throughout the entire academy. They could hear sounds of battle echoing through the air ducts, growls, crashes, and the distinctive sound of nanites being torn apart. Nanite levels dropping throughout the station, Admiral Thex reported. Whatever is happening in there, it is working. Commander Zeph's voice returned to the speakers, but now it carried a note of panic. How is this possible? Our nanites were perfect. Nothing should be able to resist them. Through the windows, the students could see the Purity Syndicate ships beginning to move erratically. Their perfect weapon was failing, and they did not understand why. In the ventilation system above, Yuntai continued his relentless hunt. The small creature that had been mocked as weak and harmless was single-handedly destroying the most advanced bioweapon in the galaxy, and he was doing it with the calm efficiency of a predator who had evolved on the deadliest planet in the universe. For the first time since the attack began, the students of the Galactic Academy began to hope they might survive. And for the first time since arriving at the Academy, Hana felt proud to be from Earth. The sounds of battle continued echoing through the Academy's ventilation system. Students throughout the station could hear Yuntai hunting nanites in the air ducts, growls, crashes, and the steady destruction of the Purity Syndicate's supposedly perfect weapon. Admiral Thex's voice crackled through the speakers with growing excitement. Nanite concentrations dropping to 0 throughout sectors 7 through 12. Whatever our mystery defender is doing, it is working beyond our wildest hopes. In the cafeteria, Dr. Namsu was frantically collecting samples from the destroyed nanites that littered the floor. Her 4 eyes were wide with scientific amazement as she studied the remains under her portable scanner. "This is impossible," she muttered, showing her readings to Professor Veltar, who had arrived during the chaos. These nanites were designed to be indestructible. They should adapt to any biological threat within seconds. But something has completely neutralized their adaptive protocols. What could do that? Professor Veltar asked, his forearms moving nervously. Dr. Namsu pointed toward the air vent where Yuntai had disappeared. "Whatever that Earth creature is doing, it is beyond our current understanding of biology. I need samples of its saliva, blood, anything that might explain how it neutralizes the nanites so effectively." Hana stepped forward, surprising herself with her newfound confidence. "His name is Yuntai, and honey badgers evolved to eat poisonous things. Their bodies turn toxins into energy instead of being harmed by them." "But these are not simple toxins," Dr. Namsu protested. "These are self-replicating molecular machines designed to target specific genetic patterns." "Everything on Earth is designed to kill everything else on Earth," Hana explained. "Honey badgers survived by becoming immune to everything. Cobra venom, bee stings, plant toxins, bacterial infections. Nothing can poison them for long." The conversation was interrupted by a communication from Admiral Thex. "I am receiving a priority transmission from Earth Defense Command. They are requesting to speak with the human student." Hana felt her heart racing as a holographic display activated in the cafeteria. The image showed a stern-faced human admiral wearing the blue uniform of Earth's Space Navy. "This is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force," the woman said. "Are you Lee Hana, the exchange student?" "Yes, Admiral," Hana replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "We received your emergency signal. Our forces are 30 minutes out. Can you confirm that you have a honey badger on station?" The alien students gasped. Earth had received their distress call and was sending help, but the Admiral seemed more concerned about Yuntai than anything else. "Yes, Admiral. Yuntai is currently clearing the Academy of Nanites." Admiral Chen nodded grimly. "Understood. Tell your honey badger to leave some for us when we arrive. Chen out." The transmission ended, leaving the aliens staring at Hana in confusion. "Leave some for them?" Crix asked. What did she mean? Before Hana could answer, Commander Zeph's panicked voice filled the cafeteria. "This is impossible. Our nanites are being systematically destroyed throughout the entire station. What are you using against us?" Admiral Thex responded with obvious satisfaction. "We are using an Earth creature called a honey badger. Perhaps you should have researched Earth's fauna more thoroughly before attacking our academy." There was a long pause before Commander Zeph spoke again, his voice filled with disbelief. You are telling me that a single Earth animal is destroying our most advanced bioweapon? That appears to be the case, Admiral Thex confirmed. Through the Academy's communication system, they could hear frantic voices on the Purity Syndicate ships. Someone was desperately searching through databases trying to find information about honey badgers. Mellivora capensis, a voice reported.
Length 60 centimeters.
Weight 12 kilograms. Diet, omnivorous with high resistance to toxins. Threat assessment minimal. Minimal? Commander Zeph shrieked. It is destroying our entire weapon system. Perhaps your threat assessment was incorrect, Admiral Thex suggested dryly. The Academy's sensors began detecting new ships approaching from the direction of Earth. The human fleet was smaller than the Syndicate force, but their vessels moved with deadly precision. In the ventilation system, the sounds of Yuntai's hunt were finally slowing down. After nearly an hour of constant battle, he had apparently cleared the entire Academy of nanites. A few minutes later, a small, furry head poked out of an air vent near the cafeteria ceiling. Yuntai looked around the room with satisfaction, then dropped down to the floor with a soft thud. The students gasped. The honey badger was covered in the remains of destroyed nanites, making his fur shimmer with metallic dust. But he showed no signs of injury or exhaustion. If anything, he looked more alert and energetic than ever. Yuntai walked calmly over to Hana and sat down beside her feet, looking up with an expression that clearly said, "Problem solved." "That is the same animal?" Grok asked in amazement. "The one we called weak and harmless?" Hana knelt down and gently scratched behind Yuntai's ears. The honey badger made his familiar contented sound and closed his eyes, instantly returning to his peaceful demeanor. "Honey badgers do not look for fights," Hana explained. "But when something threatens them or their family, they become unstoppable." Dr. Namsu approached carefully with her scanner. "May I take some readings? For medical research?" Hana nodded, and the doctor began scanning Yuntai with her instruments. The honey badger tolerated the examination patiently, occasionally opening one eye to see what was happening. "Extraordinary," Dr. Namsu breathed. "His metabolism has completely neutralized the nanite's toxic compounds and converted them into usable energy. His immune system is unlike anything in our databases, and his brain chemistry shows no signs of stress or fatigue despite the intense battle." "How is that possible?" Professor Veltar asked. "Earth," Hana said simply. "Everything there evolves to survive impossible conditions. Honey badgers fight things 100 times their size because they have to. They eat poison because that is all that is available sometimes. They never give up because giving up means death." The communication system crackled again as the Earth Defense Force ships engaged the Purity Syndicate fleet. The battle was swift and decisive. Human vessels, designed by beings who had evolved alongside creatures like honey badgers, fought with the same relentless determination. Commander Zeph's final transmission was filled with confusion and defeat. "How did we underestimate such a small planet so badly?" Admiral Thex answered with something that might have been amusement. "Perhaps size is not the most important factor in determining strength." As the Syndicate ships retreated, students throughout the Academy began gathering in the cafeteria to see the honey badger who had saved them all. They approached cautiously with a mixture of awe and embarrassment. Crix was the first to speak. "I owe you an apology," he said to Hana. "All of us do. We judged your world by its size instead of its strength." "We thought small meant weak," added Grok. "But you come from a world where everything is compressed into maximum danger." Professor Veltar activated his holographic display one more time. But instead of showing Earth as a tiny, insignificant world, the new display highlighted its classification. Earth, he read from the updated files that were being transmitted throughout the galaxy. Diameter 12,742 kilometers. Classification, Extreme Death World, Class Omega. Warning, size inversely correlated with threat level. Approach with maximum caution. Class Omega? Kim Ray asked. "What does that mean?" "It means Earth is now classified as the most dangerous planet in known space," Professor Veltar explained. "Not because of its size, but because of what evolution has created there." Students began placing offerings of food near Yuntai, not as jokes this time, but as tribute. The honey badger sniffed each offering politely but showed more interest in the special Earth treats that Hana had brought from home. "I do not understand," said the flower student. "If Earth is so dangerous, why are you so peaceful?" Hana smiled as she petted Yuntae, who had curled up for a nap after his adventure. Because we do not need to prove how strong we are. Honey badgers only fight when they have to. Humans are the same way. We prefer to make friends instead of enemies. But if someone threatens your friends? Grok asked. Hana looked at the peaceful honey badger sleeping beside her, then at all the alien students who had gathered around them. Then they learn why Earth is a death world. As the Academy returned to normal operations, word of the honey badger's heroics spread throughout the galaxy. Earth's planetary status was permanently upgraded, and applications for exchange programs with human institutions increased by 3,000%. But in the cafeteria of the Galactic Academy, Yuntae simply slept peacefully beside Hana's chair, dreaming whatever dreams honey badgers dream, completely unaware that he had just changed the galaxy's opinion of Earth forever. The way students who had once mocked the tiny planet now whispered respectfully about the world that could produce such incredible creatures. And they all agreed on one thing. They were very glad that Earth preferred peace to war. After all, if this was what humans brought to school as pets, what did they keep at home for protection?